Yo guys, today let's paint a street punk. So I was thinking, since we're at the stage where we are now choosing a thumbnail for a painting, I wanted to focus on trying to make a dynamic splash art. So the theme of this video would be based on the process that I use to make dynamic splash arts. So without further ado, let's get on with the painting. So from the last part, we created our character and created 3 different thumbnails, and they all have their own narrative and their own light sources. But for me, the one that has the clearest narrative and also the best potential for having a dynamic splash art is the second one that I drew. Now, I really like this thumbnail because it's just cool as hell. I feel like the idea is super clear, but at the moment I have big issues with this current thumbnail, and that's mainly because this is not a dynamic type of composition. I mean, the camera angle is set up in a way where it's like the Five Nights at Freddy's like surveillance camera. The main thing that we can change when it comes to trying to make a dynamic composition is changing the angle of the camera. Usually what a lot of splash artists do to create that kind of dynamic look is they have the camera closer to their character while also having it looking up at their character. This creates like an effect where the character is towering over the viewer. That's very important when it comes to dynamic splash arts. It's not necessary, like you can get away with it, but at least have the camera closer to the character and have the camera eye to eye with the character, at least. Okay, so I'm actually really happy with the results. Anyways, here's the previous thumbnail for reference, and I'll show you guys what we've done to this new thumbnail so far. And the first one was we changed the camera angle of the thumbnail, so no more Five Nights at Freddy's camera angle, which gives a bit more of a dramatic effect, which is what we want. And the second thing that is important for splash arts is readability. And here we introduced a new light source which framed our character's silhouette more, which means at first glance you can tell where our character is positioned into the piece. Anyways, I'm going to refine this piece a bit more. I'll check back with you guys in a bit. I'm actually really happy with how it's looking so far. What we've done to it since the last time we worked on this splash art was we added a correction layer, and the correction layer that we used is called the levels correction layer. In Photoshop it's called an adjustment layer, and basically what this is used for is it helps tweak the values in the painting. And if you're aiming for a dynamic splash art, you'd obviously want dynamic lighting. So that's what increasing the contrast would help to do. Obviously don't go too dark or go too light. And still on the subject of readability, what I feel like we need to do is we need to work on highlighting our character even more. Because at the moment the character is still kind of merging with the background in some ways. So for example, maybe we'll need some lighter values. Oh shit, wrong brush. So for example, maybe we're going to need some lighter values around here, and maybe even some lighter values here. Like I'm just making some brief changes, and you can see our characters like quite literally popping out the painting, but we need to do it in a way where he's still, you know, a part of our scene. And after I'm done with that, I'll check back in with you guys. Okay, so I somehow ruined this painting and I actually don't understand why. Okay, so thankfully I actually saved the previous stages of my process, so I can go back to any stage in time. And I think I'm going to start off painting from here, and I'm just gonna try to render a bit more before I add color in. Honestly, you don't have to do it this way. A lot of splash artists actually add color in a lot earlier than normal, but it's just that I feel like I need to identify the lighting a bit more before I actually move on to color. So that's the whole purpose of the stage, and yeah, we'll see how this goes. If I do say so myself, I'm actually very surprised that that actually worked. Just coloring some parts of the character instead of like oversaturating the whole painting. It actually made the painting look way more lively than when it did with all the oversaturation. Even though like I was so confused in the middle of the painting, I'm actually really happy with the result that we landed on. And the background does look a little empty, but I still want to fill the background up with like different stuff. It's just I'm kind of like indecisive and clueless. This is like one of the only pieces where I've had the most clarity, and yeah, so far it's actually like working. It's actually working really well. I'm actually excited to what this piece will eventually look like, but yeah, I'm very happy with how it looks like at the moment. Anyways, I didn't want to make this video too short once again, but honestly it's all I have time for, and it's the only way I could like post frequently. And I feel like I'm actually learning a lot when it comes to these paintings, so I actually want to do more of this more often. The next part that will come out, most likely going to be the last part of this painting, and basically it's going to cover up the rendering side of my process. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, rendering is not really my strongest suite, but we've made really good preparations, so I feel like the rendering is just gonna come naturally. But yeah, and as always, I hope you can take something from this, and thanks for watching. Bye.